So guys, today we will discuss the NAT. Okay, what is NAT? What is PAT? What is static NAT? NAT stands for Network Address Translation, and we use NAT to translate the private IP address into public IP address. Okay, so let me go through with this document first. After we will see all the configuration. So basically, NAT is simply a means of address translation. NAT means we are going to translate the address. Translation means if like we have a source which is 10.1.1.100, so we are going to change that source into some other IP address which is a public IP address. Okay, so we are just changing that 10.1.1.100 into 192.160 or 1.250. Okay, any IP address. In our case, we are going to change into 150. Okay, so here is my epic pen. We also have a so basically we use NAT to commonly change the private IP address into the public IP address or global routed address pool. Globally routed address pools means the IP address which is available globally, which is reachable via globally. Globally means these public IP addresses. Okay, so we have a port address translation. So in port address translation, basically we are just doing the network address translation on the basis of port numbers. Okay, so NAT is available in both routed mode and transparent mode. So basically, if our firewall running in routed mode, we can configure the NAT, and if our firewall running in a transparent mode, we can also configure the NAT. Okay. So the thing is, there is also a NAT control keyword. So that NAT control is a history now. Okay, in version 8.2.
What is routed mode and transparent mode?
So routed mode means when our firewall running in L3 mode. Okay, and transparent mode when our firewall running as in L2 mode. L2 mode as a switch. So we have one class on transparent mode. Okay, right now our firewall running in a routed mode. So in routed mode we can configure the IP address on every interface. Okay, and if I change the mode into transparent mode, so what happens in so actually I don't want to discuss transparent mode now because we have one class on that. We have lots of discussion and the full configuration lab on that. Okay, you just remember we have a two NATs now. Two mode. First one is a routed and then other one is a transparent mode. So in routed mode, firewall act as a L3 device, layer 3 device. Okay, and if we are running that ASA firewall in transparent mode, then this firewall running as a layer 2 device, like as a switch. Okay, so if I'll just open my firewall here, then you just need to run this command, so mode, not so mode, I think so firewall. Okay, so right now firewall mode is routed. Okay, in routed mode we have we configure IP address on every interface. We have this kind of, and also if we are running this firewall in routed mode, then only we can configure the dynamic routing protocols like RIP, ESGRP, OSPF. Okay, and in routed mode we can also configure the BPN thing. In transparent mode we can't configure the BPN thing. We can't configure the dynamic routing. We can't configure the multicasting. Okay, so there is lots of limitation on transparent mode. So we have one class on that. So on that class we will discuss everything regarding that. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
I hope I already explained in first class regarding these things, that basic idea of these routed mode, transparent mode. So the thing is, in PIX firewall, because the thing is ASA is a mixture of PIX firewall and VPN concentrator. So like net control is a history now. So the thing is, in PIX firewall, we need to run that command, net control. Okay. So net control is the concept that a packet from a high security interface that is inside must match a net policy when traversing a lower security interface, means outside. So the thing is, if we don't enable the net control keyword that time, so the thing is, it automatically match that net engine. So the thing is, if we don't have any net rules in our firewall, that time our firewall basically drop these packets. Okay. So right now there is no need of net control. Okay, because they have changed the operation of net. Okay, in these latest versions, which is like 8.4 and above, like 8.6. After that we have a 9.1, 9.2, and latest one is a 9.9. So if the packet does not match a net policy, then it is dropped. Okay. So that is a history now. So you don't need to remember this thing. Sometime in interview asks what is net control. Okay. So you can just, so like net control is disabled by default. Okay. So you can now tell like that is the way of net control. That is the use case of net control. Okay. So we have a dynamic net. Okay. So in dynamic net, what happens? Dynamic net is the most common application of the net on the Cisco firewall. It allocates address from a specified pool for host as they establish connection to meet the net policy. Okay. There is, okay.
The last line I don't understand. Net controls the concept.
Okay. So the thing is, net control, actually the thing is, it's a history now, so you can also skip this point. Okay. It is not available with the latest version of Cisco ASA firewall. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So if you are not able to, so the thing is, you can see they already explain here only, right? If we don't have any net statement in our firewall, that time our firewall drop all the packets. Okay. That is the like meaning of net control. So the thing is, right now they have changed the operation for net. Okay. So in latest version, we don't have any kind of net control over there. So the thing is, right now, if we don't put any net rule, still we are able to do, we are able to like send traffic from inside to outside or inside to DMZ. Okay. But the thing is, what happens? So let's suppose this is our local lab. Okay. So this is our local network like DMZ. So if I am going to send some traffic from inside to DMZ, I can send easily that traffic without configuring any kind of net. Okay, what happens with the PIX firewalls? If we don't configure, then if we are going to like we want to communicate from inside to DMZ. For that we need to configure one net rule. Okay, if we are using PIX firewall, that is a like history around. We use PIX firewall in 2007, 2008. Right now, no one using PIX anymore. Okay. So now you got the idea of net control, I hope. So what happens in dynamic net? Let's suppose we have 100 users or 200 users or 2000 users in our inside network. Okay. Let's suppose this is my inside network. Okay. This one. And here I am having 2000 users or 20,000 users. It depends on your network, right? And your organization, how big your organization is. So the thing is, these 20,000 users want to send some traffic towards the internet. Let's suppose this is the internet. Okay. For doing some kind of internet activities. So what happens if we go with the dynamic net? So the thing is, if we have 20,000 users here, So these users using the private IP address, right? So what happens? We also need a 20,000 public IPs for that. That is the like problem with the dynamic net. Means if these users send some traffic towards the outside, then if like let's suppose in 20,000 users only 10,000 users are the active users at the same time. Okay. So the thing is, for that we need at least 10,000 public IPs in that case. Okay. If any other users like 10,001, let's suppose now 10,001 user is active and we have only 10,000 public IP. That time for one user traffic will drop automatically. Means we need a same number of public IPs as we have as same number of we have a like that private IP address of private users in our inside network. Okay. So what happens? IP address, IP address is limited, right? Public IP address is the limited ones, right? So and also every company have at least one public IP or two public IP or three public IP, four public IP, not more than that. So they have one for doing they have like one for translation of these all 20,000 users. Okay. And they also have these three or two or three for like if they have some internal servers. Okay. Like these are the three internal servers. So let's suppose this is a web server. This is a database server. Okay. And this is a like application server. So and what happens, these servers also they want to available publicly, like these are the some internal users. Okay, they also want to access these servers. So for translation of these server, we can use the other IP address. Okay, other public IP address. So we can allocate one public IP with this web server and one public IP with this server and one public IP with this server. Okay. So the thing is how we can mitigate this problem. So with the dynamic net, we can use the PAT, right? So what happens in PAT? Let's suppose we have 20,000 users here. Okay. Now all these 20,000 users translated on a one public IP address only. Let's suppose the public IP address is 172.16, anyone. Okay, 1.100. Let's suppose this is the, so the thing is on PAT basically they do the translation on the basis of port numbers. Okay, so basically here maybe they add the port number which is like 80 or more than not 80, like this one 8,000. Okay, because we have a like bell on port number which belongs between 0 to 1023, right? And after that, so they can start they're like using these ports from 224 to 65535, right? So now what happens, they can do the translation of these much users. Like if we have around 64,000 users in our network, then we can do the translation for these much users with the one public IP only. Okay, if let's suppose if we have a more than that 64,000 users, like we have 70,000 users, for that we need a two public IP address, because with one public IP we can only translate around 64,000 users or that much users only. Okay, 65535. So but the thing is around 1,000 IP addresses reserved, right? These are the well-known ports. So the thing is translation will start from 1024 onwards till 65535. So means we have around 64,000 port numbers, right, to do the forwarding. Okay, so if we have like more than 64,000 users, for that we need a two public IP. So like what, so that is the benefit by using PAT. Okay, so you just remember this thing, every organization use the PAT, no one use the dynamic net. Okay, because with the PAT we can do the translation on one single IP address to multiple users. So also one more thing, Dynamic net also known as a 1-to-1 net. 1-to-1. Okay. 1-to-1 means one private IP with the one public IP. Okay. And PAT known as a 1-to-many. Means sorry, not 1-to-many, it's many-to-one. Okay, many-to-one means multiple private IP address translated only on one public IP. Okay.
Sir, like how does this PAT actually works? Can you briefly explain?
I'll explain that. Okay, nobody's. I'll explain that. Okay. So that is the like port address translation. PAT is the best used in a small network where a global address pool is not available. Okay. Commonly, the firewall interface address is used. We always use a outside interface for doing the PAT. Okay. Best way to converge address as translate all the address into one address and uses port numbers for tracking, right? So means it do the translation on one public IP address on the basis of port numbers. So let's suppose you are able to see here, right? So let's suppose we have around 1000 users, or let's suppose here it is reloading. Let's suppose here we have a 10,000 users. Okay, so when first user send this traffic, so he can pat it like this. When this is a traffic from first user, this is a traffic from second user. So he is patted on this now, this way. This is for third one like this. Okay, so how patting will work now I will explain by using some diagram. Okay, so let me open my topology here. Okay, so I'll pick this guy. Okay, so IP address of this guy is IP address of this guy is 10.1.1.100, right? This guy. So let's suppose this PC want to send some traffic towards the any public IP. Let's suppose it is going to send some traffic towards Google. Okay, which is the IP address is 10.8.8.8. Okay, that public DNS for this. So how basically that guy or that users basically create that packets. Okay, so the packet format for that, this is in this way. So source is 10.1.1.100. Destination is 8.8.8.8. Okay, let's suppose he is sending some TCP traffic. Okay, so let's suppose source port is any random port 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and destination port is 80 because we have like if he is going to send some HTTP request, so which is like on 80. So this is a source IP address. This is a destination IP address. This is a source port and this is a destination port. Okay, so when this traffic received by the firewall, so now firewall, how basically firewall do the net, because when firewall receive this traffic, so he now apply the net. So net means here he apply the PAT. Okay, so here he apply the PAT. So how he basically apply that PAT? So what happens now? What is the packet format now? I will design here. Let's suppose we are going to do the PAT on this IP address 192.168.1.250 because this is a public IP address in our outside interface in our case, right? So now the thing is he just changed this source, this 10.1.1.100 into this IP address 192.168.1.250. Okay. Destination remains same because destination this 8.8 is a public IP address, right? This is publicly available. Now he changed the source port here. Okay, let's suppose the port number is 1234. So sometime what happens actually, this ASA firewall also do the port randomization. Okay, port randomization. Port randomization means he always change the source port. Okay, so like he changed the port number where like any 4321 and destination port is 80. This is a source port, this is a destination port, this is a source IP, this is a destination IP. So like that is the packet after NAT. After that ASA just create this packet and send this packet towards the Google, towards the 8.8 server. Okay, so what happens now? Now this server also send the reply, right? So how basically he create the packet, that server? So source is 8.8 because that packet coming from the server, and destination is 192.168.1.250. Source port is 80 and destination port is 4321. So when ASA receives this packet, he checks the exit table, because when ASA firewall do the NAT, so he create one exit table, okay, where he put the record for every translation or for every traffic, which is he do the translation, he do the PAT. Okay, so first in exit table he find out, oh, this is the same this is the traffic. So he, after that what happens, now he do the untranslation. So the thing is, when he translate this packet into this packet, it is known as a translation. Okay, when he receive the reply from that server, now he do the untranslation. Okay, remember this thing. Here he is doing translation, here he is doing untranslation. Okay, so after untranslation, what is the like packet? So he create this packet now. So that destination is same. Sorry, source is same, 8.8.8, and he changed this IP, the 192.168.1.250 into 10.1.1.100, and so here he changed the port number, which is 1234 and the 80. Okay, so this is the like source IP, this is the destination IP, this is the source port, this is the destination port. Okay, so when this system receive this like this traffic, so this system also create that translation, and he know the port numbers, right? So when he receives this particular traffic on a port number 1234, he basically accept this packet. Okay, so that is the like way how he do the translation, how ASA do the translation, and how ASA do the untranslation when he receives the reply. Okay, so any doubt on that thing, that translation, because that is very important.
So when the packet is we are like trying to access Google server, we are source IP is 10.1.1.100, destination IP is 8.8.8.
Yes.
Source port is like the port number like TFTP and like SMTP port 25 FTP. Is that the port you're talking about, or this is like something different ports?
Yeah, these are the same ports, but the thing is, what happens if you are aware about the port numbers? These are the like you have 0 to 1023. These are the well-known ports, right?
Okay.
These are basically defined by the INA. Okay, these are the well-known port. After that, from 0 to 65535, these are the random ports. Okay, these are the ports which everyone can use, because the thing is, maybe on these ports you are running some services, like I am telling you some service, like we use port number 2022 for SHS service. We use port number 23 for telnet service, right? We use port number 25 for SMTP service. We use port number 110. I think this is for POP3. And we use
53 for DNS.
Yeah, 53 for DNS. So these are the well-known ports, which is defined by the INA. So the thing is, these ports, we know, like that is the particular service which are running on these ports, right? So what happens?
Okay.
Now everyone use the port numbers. Like if when we open anything, like if I open this, so this is a like very high level overview, man. So let me explain you. Nobody's. If we open anything, like if I open one browser here in one tab, I also open here another tab. Like here I'll type the Google. Okay. What happens? If I'll type the Google here, and also here in this another tab, like Google here also. How our firewall, how basically our PC differentiate both these tabs? He allocate the port number with every tab. Okay. If we open the notepad here, let's suppose I have opened this PDF file. So the thing is, for this PDF also our ASA, our system assign one port number. Okay. So everything differentiated by the system using the port numbers only. Okay, you just remember this thing. Okay. So the thing is, just back to our topic here. So now you have any doubt on this translation? Because if you explain in this way, definitely like you are selected if you are going for any interview. That is the like best way. And I also need to tell you one more thing here. You are able to see this one, right? This source port, sorry, like this one and this one. See, he also changed the source port, right? This ASA firewall also changed these ports, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Basically, ASA do this thing that port randomization for protecting us by the hijacking, that connection hijacking. Okay. So you can also give this reason that hijacking that connection. Okay. Every firewall do this thing. Lots of people not tell. Okay, that thing, because the thing is they will definitely, like if they have this source port here, the same source port they can also show you in a translation, but there is a randomization happens. Okay, so the thing you just remember, there is a port randomization happens in the ASA firewall. So you are okay with the pattern now, right?
So the port randomization is like if you have suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, it will convert to 4, 3, 2, 1, or like will it be like different?
See, I am taking the example. Maybe your system allocate any port number like 60,000. He allocate only the port number which lie between 10242655535. Any port. Maybe it will allocate this port 44800. Maybe anything like 7727, anyone. Okay. So when he receive, maybe sometime what happens, ASA also change. ASA may also use the same port here. Here is the like this is the source port here. Maybe after translation, maybe there is a chance to he is also using the same port. Okay. Because the thing is, these are the algorithms which are configured in the operating system of ASA firewall. That is right. They can't basically share the actual code of these algos. Okay. Because the thing is, for that, if they like they openly gives these algorithms, then every vendor start doing that kind of stuff, right? There is no meme. So the thing is, so we know the like we know the theory only for that. Okay. So are you like okay with the pat now? Okay.
Mhm. I have one more question, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Ask me.
So, so source port and destination port, whatever, like if I'm accessing like web server or any other servers, it will be a destination port. So
Hmm.
if I'm using like I'm trying to access Gmail, it will be port 25, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
And
In
then
that
when
case,
it's, yeah.
packet will be like this. Like this is the source 10.1.1.100, and let's suppose Gmail IP address is, I'm just taking any public IP. Okay. I am not aware about the Gmail IP. That's how this is. And the source port is random port like 4800. Let's suppose. Okay. And the destination port must be 25 or any port, because the
And
thing is right now what happens, Gmail also using the random port numbers.
okay.
Random port numbers means dynamically changing port numbers, means every time Gmail IP address and port number will change. Okay, because
Okay.
the thing is, if somebody know the exact port number of Gmail and the IP address, they easily launch the DDoS attack, right? And whole
Okay.
business gone in a 1 second only, right? So right now what
Yeah.
happened? That's why there is some malicious website like Torrent,
Yeah.
like some malware website. They also do the same thing. They change the IP address and the port numbers every time.
Mhm.
Okay. Otherwise anyone can find these website easily, right? And we can
Yeah.
also block the torrent by using the IP address. but we
Mhm.
but you don't know, like torrent may be having around 10,000 IP address or 1,000 public IP address, and they are also changing
Okay.
that IP address and port numbers every time. So that is the reason we have a application identification.
Okay.
So the thing in what happens in app identification, our firewall basically see the traffic pattern,
Okay.
because they can't change the traffic pattern, right? They change the
Mhm.
IP address and port number, but they can't change the traffic pattern. Like this is the torrent traffic, so he has some patterns, right? So we can just identify the application on the basis of these patterns. Okay.
Okay, so now our firewall like got all this detail to reach destination, and then
Mm-hmm.
our firewall convert to a public IP address,
Yes, definitely.
uh,
He changed his source.
public source IP address
Yeah,
and public
yeah, definitely.
destination IP address.
See, the thing is, this is a public IP address only for destination.
Okay,
So
and
he only changed the source IP, because
okay,
this is a private IP, right? This is a private network.
okay. So will it change the source port as well when it's going public?
Yeah, definitely. It changed the source port like 48002, any port like 7718, any port. Okay.
So
But he don't
why
change the
does it?
destination port.
Okay.
Okay.
Why does it change the source port?
Because for protecting us by using the session hijacking, protecting from the
Okay.
session hijacking. Okay. Because what happens sometimes, let's suppose you are the right guy here. Maybe your
Mhm.
colleague is not a right guy. He is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And somehow he snip your traffic and he get the port number, like that the port number of your PC, like you are using this port. Okay. So what happens
Okay.
here? Maybe some bad guy which is sitting here,
Mhm.
he can reply by using the IP spoofing. These are the very high level concept, man. IP spoofing.
Okay.
So the thing is,
Okay.
when he send these requests, our firewall consider, oh, maybe he also use this IP address as a source, because he is doing the IP
Mhm.
spoofing. Okay, and he give the reply on that port, because we have lots of application for doing that kind of stuff. So the thing is, what happens now, when your firewall receive this packet, he basically give the access, and when this guy window receive this request, he also accept. Now he is compromised, right? He can send any kind of code over there on that traffic. That is the way to how we can implement the attack, how we can initiate the attack, and how we got the success on that. These are the way to do that. Okay. Clear with this now, I hope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it changes the source port and it doesn't change the destination port.
Yeah, it changes the source IP and source port. Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay.
While
Okay.
running back, that like suppose if you have like a home router,
Mm-hmm.
all these features is done by the home router, correct?
Not home router. These features are done by the firewall only. These things. Okay. Because our firewall designed for NAT and ACLs. Doing these two things in very controlled way. Okay. So the thing is, if we are in our cases, like if we are connecting with our Wi-Fi, home Wi-Fi, so that is the device which is the like router and switch. This is the two devices. Okay, it has two capabilities over there. So he is also do the NAT. Okay, but the thing is only basic NAT. Okay.
So firewall maybe it contains some table when that.
Hey, your voice is very. Your voice is not coming like right. It's like very low.
So when the traffic is coming back, so router will have some sort of like table. It knows that way to
Yeah. Every device have a network address translation table. Or so in a case of ASA, it has the exit table. Exit table. Okay.
exit table. Okay.
Exit table, not exit. Exit table. Okay. Or you can also say the net table. Okay. Where he put that entry that he has like all the translation, because here may you have a like 10,000 users, right? So he have a 10,000 entries there. Okay. It depends on the sessions also. Okay. Let's suppose you have opened one session for Gmail, another session for web browsing, like any, one session for Facebook, one session for like some gaming website. So that time you are using like you are initiating around 4 sessions, right? So he create the 4 exit tables for you only. Okay. So these network address translation happens on the basis of per sessions. Okay. So now back to the next topic, which is static net. Okay. Static net. We use static net for providing the access of our servers, which are available in DMZ or in inside network. Okay, that is the definition of a static net. Okay, so let's suppose we have this web server here. Like this is our web server, and it is running some kind of services. This is web server which is running like, let's suppose this is this is a Facebook organization. Okay, so let's suppose he is running the Facebook service. Okay, on a website, this www.facebook.com. So what happens? Like you are sitting here, like you are some internet users. Okay, internet user. You want to access this server, right? And also there is also one more guy. He's an internal guy. Okay, like internal guy, internal user. You are an external user, okay, or internet user. So here I also mention external user. So what happens if this internal guy want to reach this server? he can easily reach by hitting this IP address. This is a private IP address, right? So when he hit this IP in a browser, or he hit the URL of the Facebook in browser, he can get the access of this web server, right? What happens if you hit this IP address? You are not able to get this web page because this is a private IP address, right? So let's suppose now what we do, how we can do the configuration. So when we hit the public IP address, so our ASA translates this request into the private IP address of our web server, and we get the Facebook web page here. Okay, so for that we use the static net always. Okay, so how basically he do the translation? So I'll just go to this web page here. So basically, let's suppose this is my DMZ server. Okay, this is my DMZ server having the IP address which is 10.2.2.100. So this is a like private IP address. Okay, so what happens? These internal users can access this web server, this DMZ server easily by hitting this IP address 10.2.2.0 because our ASA firewall have a routing, right? Already routing for this DMZ server. What about the others one, which is sitting in internet, like internet users? Okay, if they hit this IP address, they are not able to reach, right? Because this is a private IP, it is not publicly available. So what we do now, we configure the static net here in our firewall. Okay, we configure a static net in firewall. So what happens? We basically translate the request for this 10.2.2.100 on some IP address. Let's suppose we got this public IP 1.149. Let's suppose this is the IP address which we get from our ISP. Okay, so what happens now? This internal user hit this IP address on a browser. So what happens? Our ASA when receive this request, so ASA basically do the translation. He translate this IP address into this IP address 10.2.2.100. Okay, that is the static net. So how basically what is the packet format for that? So let's suppose this is some internet user. Okay, so let's suppose IP address of this internal user is any like 100.1.1.100. Okay, and we configure the static net on this IP address 192.168.1.149, and let's suppose our service running on a port number 80 for DMZ. Okay, so this is the source IP, this is the destination IP, this is the source port, this is the like source port is, let's suppose 1234. Okay, and the destination port is 80. This is a source port and this is the destination port. Okay, so this is the like some internal user, so which he create this packet and he sended this packet towards the ISP. Then that ISP know this IP address, like this is the destination IP, which is reachable via this firewall, right? So when this firewall receive this request, so basically he apply the translation, right? Because he have that rule, that is static rule, a static net rule on the net table. So what happens now? He do the translation in this way. He put the source IP same like 10.1.1.100, and he changed the destination IP into 10.2.2.100. Okay, so source port is 1234 and destination port is 80. Okay, so that is the packet format after the translation for the static net. Okay, so now you are clear with the static net translation as well. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Yeah, it's the same way. Like when from local area network, we are like sorry, we are trying to access some website or something.
Yes,
So
yes, yeah.
we need the source, destination, everything.
Yeah,
When
it is.
then what is the difference between dynamic net and static net? Both are same, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the difference between, see, the thing is dynamic net is a,
so 1-to-1. Even static net is 1-to-1, right?
Yeah, yeah. So dynamic net is a one to many. Okay. Sorry, 1-to-1. Okay, 1-to-1. And static net is also a 1-to-1. The difference between this, a static net is a bidirectional. First difference. Okay. Bidirectional means we can also initiate the same traffic from this host towards the outside, and we can also, like, he also received the request from the outside. So the thing is bidirectional means we have a net for both the directions. You see, like in dynamic path, right? In dynamic path, what happens?
Net.
We always initiate a traffic from the inside, right? We can't initiate the traffic from outside. Yeah, but what happens with the static net? It's like bidirectional. We can send the traffic from inside that DMZ to outside or outside to DMZ. Okay, that is the like first main difference between a static and dynamic net. And we use that dynamic net for hosting our internal servers. So means the thing is, you also got one more difference, right? It's a like in outside, like many users can access our web servers on a one particular IP address, like one public IP, which is 192.168.1.49, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the main difference between a static and dynamic. Okay, any other question on that?
So what kind of traffic that goes from the DMZ zone?
It depends. If we are running in DMZ like Telnet SHS service, we can do this kind of translation for SHS. If we are running 80, that web service, we can do the translation on port number 80. If we are running the 443 service, we can do this. We are running SMTP service, we can translate on this port. It depends on what kind of services we have in DMZ. Okay. Clear now? Because maybe in DMZ we have a more than, not one server, like more than one server. Let's suppose here I have one switch. Okay. Here I'll have one server here, one server here, one server here, and this is my another server. Let's suppose I am having here 5 servers, and the IP address of these servers is, this is the 10.2.2.1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Let's suppose this server running web service on port number 80, this server running Telnet server on port 23, this server running SHS server on port number 22, this server running SMTP service on port number 25, this server running FTP service on port number 21. Okay, what I'll do now, so if I want to publicly host these servers, so I need at least 5 public IPs. In case of static net, okay, 5 public IPs. Okay, so let's suppose I am having this IP address like 192.168.1.100. So on 100, I'll just do the translation with this IP address. Okay, I also have 101, so I can use the translation for this server. Okay, and I am also having like 102, which I use for translation of this particular server, and 103 I'm using for this particular server, and let's suppose I also have a 104, which I'll use for this particular server. Okay, this is a case of a static net. Okay, so in this way we can do the translation then. Okay, so now you see here, if let's suppose I have 100 servers, there is a chance, right? We can have 100 servers or 1000 servers. It depends on how big your organization is. So what happens now? With the static net, if you are going to host these 1000 servers in a public environment, for that you need 1000 public IP, right? If you're going to purchase the 1000 public IP, these are the very costly, right? So how you can meet, how basically you can remediate this kind of problem, this kind of issue. So now the thing is, we also have a static. Let me change the color. We also have a static path here. Okay. So in static path, what happens? If we have like 1000 servers here, like this is first server, this is second server, like this till 1000. Okay. What we do, and the thing is, there is also only one condition. These servers run the service on different ports, like this run on port number 80, this port number 81, 82, like this server running service on port number 1000. So what happens now? We are having only one public IP address, which is 192.168.1.149. So we can now configure the static path. So when this firewall received the request on port number 80, and the destination IP is this, and the port number is 80, he send this traffic towards this guy, this server. Okay. If ASA firewall received the request on a port number 81, and the IP address is this, he send the traffic towards this server. Okay. If he received the request from port number 82, and the IP is this, he send the request towards this server. Okay, so that is the way of static patching, how the static patching will work. Okay. So like that is the way how the static pad will work. Now you are clear with the static pad as well, right? So the thing is, let me also explain some more features over there. Like this is the server which is having IP address 10.2.2.100, and he is running the service on port number 80. I'm just using standard services. Okay, this is the another server which is running the service on port number. This is the IP address, and the port number is 443. This is another server having the IP address 102. Okay, and the port number is 21. And this is also a server which is running the service on port number 22. The IP address 103. Okay, that's how we have 4 servers. So the thing is now how patching will work. So the thing is, if ASA firewall received the request on port number on the IP address which is not this one, let me delete this one. So let's suppose this is our public IP address which is 192.168.1.149. Okay, so when our ASA firewall received the request on this port 190, this IP address 192.168.1.149 on a port number 80, like this is a destination IP, this is a destination port. Okay, so if ASA received this request, he sent this traffic towards this guy. if ASA received the request on port number 443 with the same IP address, he sent this request towards this server. Okay, he received the request on port number 21 and the IP address like same 192.168.1.149. He sent this request towards this guy. Now you got like how static pad will work. Static pad work. Okay. So he do the translation in this way. So also there is also one more concept. So let me try to also explore this concept. We have a static pad with port forwarding. You know, like this is like 23 is a telnet port, right? You know 22 is a SHS port. You know 25 is a SMTP port. 80 is a STTP port. Everyone know these ports nowadays, right? So what happens now? People start using, like maybe this is the server which is running some telnet service on port number 23. This is the server which is running SMTP service on port number 25. This is the server which is running the FTP service on port number 21. Okay, what happens now? You can do the port forwarding also. So when this is our IP address, public IP 192.168.1.149. Okay, so when ASA firewall receives the request on a port number 2300, because now we are changing the port numbers. These are the like well-known port number. So now we are hiding our actual servers with the actual port numbers, right? Because the thing is, anyone can, if anyone got the idea like this organization having the telnet server, so maybe, and he also got the public IP, so maybe what happens that some bad guys also try to send some malicious data, or he just opening the any random connection on port number 23 because he is aware about this is the organization which is running the telnet service, right? So what happens now? So here we do the port forwarding now. So when we forward, so now what happens? This is the telnet server and which is available for public users on a port number 2300 only. So now what happens? Now people is not able to identify or able to guess your port numbers, right, easily, because we are just doing the port forwarding now here in our case now. Okay, maybe IP address is this one 192.168.1.149. So like let's suppose we are running some SMTP service. So maybe for SMTP service we are running this port 2525. So when ASA firewall received the request from port number 2525, he sent this request towards the SMTP server. And the thing is, like you are the internal users, or you are the any company like company C1, company C2. And the thing is, this organization provides the mail server, mail kind of services. Okay, so what happens? You can tell these company we are running the SMTP service on this port number. So please send the request on this port number only. Okay, so when these guys initiate any kind of request towards this place, okay, they initiate the request on port number 2525 only. This is a port forwarding, how we can hide the actual ports. Okay, any question on that? Guys, any question, or are you there? Anyone have any question on that particular port forwarding? Because people are using. Mm-hmm.
I do not want to have email service on my website, so I
Mm-hmm.
do not want to share my port number.
Yes, yes, yes. That's why
So
actually.
we asked to our ISP internet service provider to
No, no,
share
no,
our port
no,
number.
no, no. You can't ask to ISP. We are the only guy who is manage the ASA firewall. Who can do that kind of things there? Okay. Who is responsible for doing that kind of stuff? Because the thing is, right now, HTTP service, like this is the HTTP port here. Like we have HTTP server here running on port number 80. Right? So what happens now? Maybe for outsiders, this server known as a port number 80,000 or 8080. This is also known as a proxy. Okay, port proxy. Okay, port proxy. This is known as a also that port proxy or port forwarding. We are just forwarding the port. Like what happens if we receiving the request on port number 23,000, we are forwarding on to 23. And maybe also we can also do this thing. Let's suppose what happens generally we can't use this kind of scenarios because they have some kind of complexity. Maybe if we receive that request on port number 23, we can forward this port on a port number 80 as well. But the thing is we can't do because these are the well-known ports. So we always use the port numbers above this 1023. Okay, above these port numbers. We can use these kind of stuffs for anything. Okay, so now you got the idea for forwarding as well.
Yeah. So
Okay.
suppose like I have one question. Like in a big organization like Dell,
Mm-hmm.
in some companies, like do we have only one firewall for all the servers, or we'll be having like different firewalls?
No, the thing is for very big organization, like I'm working in Cisco, so I know we have around 400 firewalls. Not
400.
400, yeah, 4,000 firewalls.
Mhm.
And we have, because it
So
depends on like different departments, because every department needs one or two firewalls. Maybe some firewalls running in a routed mode, some firewall running in a transparent mode. Okay, it depends on the size of your organization. If organization is very big, you need a very like lots of firewalls for that.
so in that scenario, we need like 4,000 public IP address.
Definitely. Depends. It depends, man. It depends. The thing is, we need only the public IP for hosting our server to public for the anyone, like for public.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and we also need a public IP for translation our that that private IP address into the public IP address only, right?
Okay.
If like this is a, let's suppose, let me delete this one. Let's suppose these are your users, okay, inside users. They want to communicate with the DMZ only. Then you don't need any public IP address. You need only one public IP if these users want to go towards the internet. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. It depends. Like if you are a like very big organization and you have lots of customers, like customer one, customer two, customer three, huge number of customers, right?
Mhm.
Customer 10, and you are running lots of servers here, right? You are providing that kind of services to these customers. Okay,
Mhm.
so the thing is these customers also try to access these servers, right? For that you definitely need IP address to host publicly these servers, right?
Mhm.
In that case only you need a public IP addresses. Okay,
Okay.
so now so we have completed the theory part. Now I will show you the configuration on that. Okay, configuration is very easy. So first I will show you the configuration regarding the PAT. Okay, if you see, we already configure the PAT. Okay, So let me first remove the access list which I have configured. Okay, clear configure access list. That is the command to removing the access list. Okay, so run, if I run this command, so run not pet, so run it. Okay, this is the command object network pet. After that we can define this thing. So let me also configure clear configure. I think that command will not work here. Yeah, so run net. So now I have removed the net as well, right? So let me also remove this one. Okay, so now the thing is how we can configure the pet. So let me also initiate some traffic towards the internet. Ping 8.8.8 with the repeat count of 1000 from my inside user. So right now ping is not working, right? Because right now our firewall is not able to do the translation. Okay, so as soon as I configure the pet over there, that ping must work. So that is these are the like command. First we just create one object group, object network. I'll give the name pet. Okay, after that I'll define my subnet. So in subnet I'll use every like 00. 00 means 00 include all inside network, all inside subnets. So why we use 00 here? Maybe after 3 years or 2 years, maybe your company sizes increases, right? You have like 100 users in a initial time. After that your user become 10,000 or 1,000 users, and you also like introduce some new subnets there, right? So for mitigating that kind of problems, we always use the 00 here, which include everything. Okay, after that we just use this net inside to outside. Here we use the dynamic interface. Interface means now I configure the translation on my interface IP address. What is the IP address of my interface? Which is 192.168.1.250. That is the IP address of my outside interface, right? So I have just run this command. So net, we can also check. This is the like net from like if we are initiating any traffic from inside to outside. Source is dynamic. Pet is this one. Okay. Ping is not working here. What is the reason? Because you are now strong enough to give the answer of that question. When we initiate up any kind of ping request, it uses the ICMP, right? So in first day, if you remember, I told you like all the traffic, like all the TCP and UDP traffic by default allow the firewall, right? From high security level to low security level. And ASA firewall also create a connection table, right? For TCP and UDP traffic. So what happens with the ICMP traffic? ICMP is a stateless protocol. Okay. So the thing is when ASA firewall receives any request, any ICMP request, he just drop this packet. Okay. So how we can allow these kind of packets? We need to open one access list. Access list out permit ICMP any access group out and interface outside. As soon as I apply, that ping will start, right? If I'll check my exit table, so exit, I have exit table here, right? ICMP, this is my source IP address. This is my outside IP address. Okay, these are the sequence numbers. So the thing is, this is also a like very well-known question. How petting work for ICMP traffic? because ICMP header not having the source port and destination port field. Okay. So the thing is, in case of ICMP, our ASA firewall use the sequence number and identification value for identifying the different sessions for ICMP when he do the patch for this traffic. Okay, you just remember this statement. This is very important. Okay, so now let me initiate some traffic for like some telnet traffic. Telnet on port towards my outside server, which is 192.168.100 Cisco. So I get the access. If I'll see the exit here, you are able to see this is a now exit entry for this particular session. This I have initiated, like this is a TCP pad from inside, which is the IP address of this one. This is the source port, okay, to the outside, which is the IP address of 192.168.1.0, and this is the like port number for this guy also, and these are the like some other values, okay. And if I'll check the show connection, I'm also having the connection for this TCP, right? So this is the like this is the outside IP address and port number. This is my inside IP address and port numbers. Okay. So when he receives the like reverse, when we initiate the TCP session or telnet session from inside user to this outside user, so when he receives the request, that he sent some telnet request towards this guy, and when he received the telnet reply from this guy to this guy, that time he have a connection table, because we don't open any access list, right? In case of TCP traffic. So you just remember this thing. By default, TCP and UDP traffic is inspected, and for this traffic, ASA create a connection table. So the thing is, when ASA receives any reply for this, he only matches the connection table, and he provide the access for this kind of traffic. Okay. Now let me start my window PC now. So maybe I will send some traffic towards the internet. Let's suppose this, how basically he create the sessions for that kind of traffic as well. So are you now okay with the PAT now, right? So today I will discuss only PAT. So tomorrow we can start the other, like a static net. And the thing is, so tomorrow I'll finish the net. After that we can move into the failover. So there I'll take one class on failover and one class on context, one class on transparent firewall. So maybe we have around 5 classes or 4 classes more to complete the ASA.
Are you going to discuss the firepower?
Yeah, I'll discuss the firepower, but at the end, because the thing is, in firepower I only take one class, okay? Because if I start the detailed discussion on firepower, it takes 1 month, okay? So, like, if you guys want the classes on firepower, you can ask with Santosha. If he give me, if you got the approval and he tell me, then I can definitely explain you the firepower as well.
Because all vendors are asking, I mean, clients are asking firepower.
Yeah. So in firepower we have only one class, man. Actually, the thing is, firepower. If I start teaching that firepower, it takes hardly 1 month to complete, because the thing it's have lots of new features and lots of new stuffs there.
Yeah, that is the reason many are using many are migrating to firepower from Cisco ASA. So
I'll see. The thing is, if you want to learn only the migration part, I can explain you only in 30 minutes. We have tool for that. Okay.
By the time we come to marketing, so people will ask about firepower. No ASA.
Yes. And we also have a Palo Alto classes. Okay. So in Palo Alto, we will see everything, like everything. I'll take around 10 classes on Palo Alto where we will discuss every features of Palo Alto.
So you're going to start Palo Alto after this?
Yeah, after ASA, I'll start the Palo Alto and I'll take one class on Firepower only. So like if Santosh, like give you the permission on that, so I can give you the Firepower class. Nobody's. It take hardly 1 month.
Oh.
Yeah.
1 month is too much.
Yeah, man, it takes around, I'll take on around 15 classes to complete the Firepower. Because that Firepower has like, I need to also go with the office servers, and there I need to do lots of stuff. And after I can explain you this, because Firepower have lots of features. I don't like to. Yeah.
If
Tell me.
we learn Palo Alto, so we can understand the Firepower, or it's totally different.
See, the thing is, you can concept wise, you can learn that thing there. And if you are aware of the Palo Alto, you definitely get the idea of this Firepower as well.
Okay, thanks.
But the thing is, configuration wise, you nothing get. Okay.
Even I don't know Palo Alto. Okay.
If I'll open this Cisco here, and I'll also open the Google here. So I just want to show you that connection there in Exilate table and the connection table. Okay, because the thing is, now you have completed the net as well. So maybe tomorrow I can also include the packet flow. Okay, because now you are strong enough to understand the packet flow, because packet flow is a very lengthy topic. So Nadeem, you have checked my YouTube videos there in regarding packet flow. So I am requesting you all, man, you just go through at least once with that video. Okay. Packet flow for Cisco SA Firewall. If I'll check my connection table now. Now I see I have lots of connection here. Okay, lots of UDP connection. So these are the connection regarding because the thing is, we have typed the google.com and the cisco.com. So our system sending the UDP request, that DNS request, right, on a UDP port number. That's why we are having these port numbers here. See, you are also, this is a like UDP traffic, which is on port number 443. Because the thing is, right now people are using, there is a new protocol which is Quick, I hope. I forget the actual name for that. That basically protocol using. Lots of people are start using that protocols now. Okay, so these are the like connection details. Okay, these are the like public IP address. These request on port number 443. This is the like source port. You see here is a port number 1039, 1046, 1044, right? Sometimes it is like 61997. So it depends like how your firewall going to do like allocate that port numbers. Okay, if I'll check my Exilate table, so Exilate, I'm also having lots of entry in Exilate now, right? Because he create the exit on the basis of sessions, right? So when we initiate any connection, there is a lots of sessions by default initiated, right? So now if you are able to see, you have lots of sessions here. Okay, like lots of patting here. And the thing is, he is like patting on one single IP address, interface IP address. Okay. So let's suppose if we don't want to configure our PAT on this IP address, on an interface IP address. Let's suppose we want to configure PAT on some different IP address. Okay, let's suppose we are going to configure PAT now 192.168.1.200. Okay, how we can do that? Let me first remove the PAT. So run. net here. How we can remove a particular statement? We just put the no. That's it. Okay. So let me create one object group here. Object netbar pet pool. Also here I will include one more thing. Let's suppose we are having 10,000 that 1 lakh users in our inside network. So for that we need at least 2 IP address, right? 2 public IP address. So how we can create a pool for these public IP addresses? Okay, pet pool. Here I just create a range kind of pet pool. 192.168.1.200 and the other one is 192.168.1.201. Let's suppose we are now going to configure our pet on these 2 IP addresses. Okay, so if we have a like 2 IP address, we can use the range keyword. Okay, if we have only 1 IP address, that time we use the host. After we can define that public IP address, right? 192.168.1.200. If we are having only 1 IP, so I am having 2 IP. Let's suppose, so I can use the range keyword here. Okay. After that, I'll just go to the same object netbar pet subnet 000.000 and the net inside to outside. Here I'll use the dynamic. The thing is, now we can use the, here we have like interface. Here we also have a word, right? Map network object. So here we can use the word, which is pet minus pool. I think I used that same name. Let me check. Yeah, pet hyphen pool. Pool is also caps. Ambiguous command. Okay. Mapped IP address. Okay. If we want to configure only on IP address, we can directly call the IP address. Okay. 192.168.1.200. That will work. Okay. So I will also show you that thing. We need to, I hope we also need to call this keyword. That's why. Okay. So now what I'll do the patting on a specific IP address, which is 200, right? So let me go to in my Windows system here, and first let me clear the, let's suppose, so exit. I'll have checked the exit here. I'm having lots of exit on 200, right? Because the thing is, our system, like these are the old entries, these are the new entries, because this guy regularly sending the some traffic to us like Google and towards the Cisco websites. Okay. So this is the way how we can do the pat on a particular IP address, not on an interface IP address. Okay. So now let me remove this command. Now I configure and the combination of that outside dynamic interface, not interface because we already see the interface combination. So here I'll use the pet pool. After that, we can also define that pet pool which I have created. Okay, pet minus pool. Okay, so the thing is, now we have basically, if we have like 1 lakh users or more than 1 lakh users, for that we are now going to do the patting on a 2 IP address, 192.168.1.200 and 192.168.1.201, right? So the thing is, he starts using first IP address, like first he used the 192.168.1.200. So when all the sessions full for this particular IP address, like because it supports till 64,000 sessions, right? So if like ASA is receiving the more than 60,000 sessions, after that he starts using the another IP address. Okay. So if I'll check the again exit table, I have some exit here entries. Okay. Because I can't initiate that much clear, let me clear the exit. Because I can't initiate around these much sessions from my systems. Okay. So let me just go to in this system and let me just do some refreshing to these pages. If I'll check my exit now I am having, okay, and it is going to do the patting on this IP address, okay, 192.168.1.200. So this is the particular command for doing this thing, okay. So this is not a like single command, okay. So run, run net. This is the full command, okay. Control C. So let me open my notepad here. I will type these commands. So when you do the practicals, you can follow, okay, these commands to configure these steps there. Subnet 0.0.0 0.0.0. Okay, so this is the configuration for particular pet pool. Okay, and this is for if you are going to configure on a interface only. Okay, and we also have one more combination, which is for host dynamic. After you can define the IP address directly 192.168.1.200 if you want. Okay, and this is for pet pool. So first thing for pet pool is object network. There you can write the name pet minus pool. After you can define the range. Okay, 192.168.1.200 to 192.168.1.201. Okay, these are the command for pet pool. There is also one more thing. You also have a combination like if you have three public IP address. Okay, let's suppose you have three public IP address and you have lots of users. Okay, like you are having around 64,000 multiplied by 3, like it's around 2 millions. Okay, if you have like 2 lakh users, okay, it's like 2 lakh users. So what happens, and you are only having 2 public IP and 1 public IP on interface. 1 public on interface. Okay, 1 public IP on interface, and you have a 2 public IPs as well. So what you do now, you have configured this pet with these 2 IP as well. This is known as a fallback. When ASA do the translation on an interface IP address, when he complete the translation till 64,000, after that he start using these other 2 IP address. That is the like fallback method. Okay, so how we can configure that fallback? It is also like very simple. So just first I want to just remove this one. Net inside to outside dynamic. Then we use the pet pool after the interface. After we can define our, not this one actually, flat, translate TC port on a flat. Okay. So first we define the pet pool here. After the interface, okay. And we can use we can also define this round robin, round robin algorithm, right? Round robin. So in case of, I think in round robin, actually I forget the exact name, the working process of round robin. Okay. So you can find out in Google, because in BTech basically we basically study these round robin and all. Okay. So this is the commands to do the pet pool now. So now what happens is, say basically use the interface IP as well as the other two IP addresses which we define in our pool. Okay. So these are the commands here, okay, to configure the pet pool. Okay, so this is for these are the all commands for configure the pet, all combination of pet as well. Okay, so when you do your labs, you can follow these steps. Okay. So actually now this is end, okay, for our class, for today class. We will discuss the other steps. Man, you can see, when you just open this video and you can just type by yourself, okay. If I send you, definitely, so you can just open this video recording in that point, and you can just find all these commands there only, okay, and write in a notepad. So when you're going to write these commands, first run these commands on ASA only, okay, because the thing is that also make you perfect on a CLI. Okay guys, thank you very much. Bye.